Hey everybody, super hot out, nice Arizona day. It's getting to be that summertime, and I wanted to take a moment and talk to you about why it's so important to get fitted for wedges. Kind of walk you through my story, see if I can save you some money, maybe a little bit of frustration and getting upset with yourself. So basically for me, I had these 3 Cleveland wedges, pretty traditional, 52, 56, 60 degree lofts, and it really kind of started mainly because I actually didn't like my 52 degree. Should be this one here. So 2 10 degree bounce, and I know it even says 10 degree, but I feel like this club dug a lot. That was my main complaint. I play ping S55 iron, so a 46 degree pitching wedge. So also in my mind was the ability to kind of maybe do a little bit better gapping, get to a 50 degree gap wedge, and honestly a little bit more bounce. I really thought that would help a lot. So that's kind of where I started. And that led me to the path of what I'm sure a lot of people will do. I think what I've really realized is there's a big kind of hole in the market, or there could definitely be a better service from a lot of the companies out there in terms of helping us all get fitted for wedges, which is really important. I'm basically a scratch golfer. I'm like a plus 0.9 right now, and I've been golfing my whole life. So I feel like for me to go through this and being playing golf and kind of paying attention a lot, I'm sure a lot of us go through this where we spend some money, invest in some clubs, and maybe we're not necessarily happy with the result. And it's not the club's fault by any means. It's just they make, like these, I went with Vokies. They make, 6 different grinds? And with those come different bounce options. That's a lot to really pick through. And so for me, the biggest thing I noticed is the lack of availability around courses, or to go and actually hit wedges on live turf like you would in real life. Like hitting wedges on mats in simulators does not do it justice. That's my biggest thing to really tell all of you out there is, if you're gonna go invest in wedges, look up online, find courses, whether it's a fitting day, whether it's through Cleveland or Titleist or anybody, but a live event where you can go to a course and hit on live turf. And so I guess some of the big takeaways for me are really mostly around like the lob and the sand wedge. I guess to Voki's credit, like if you go on their website, they have like an online kind of quiz that you take, and it will ask you everything from like the divot pattern that you take, the type of conditions that you play on the course, in terms of the firmness of the turf, also like the firmness of bunkers. I mean, they really try to do a good job of asking a lot of questions so they can kind of give you like, hey, here's what we think would be like the best grind pattern for you, which also really dictates the bounce, since the bounce of the wedges goes in line with the grind pattern. So like for the gap wedge, which this I will keep, I'm happy with this, I have a 50 degree 12F. So F for kind of like just a full grind. So think standard club, you can see that. Nothing shaved off around it. Super happy with this club, by the way. I'm glad I went to a 50 degree to fill in that gap. And the 12 degree bounce, I'm really glad that I went with as well. I really, really like that. What I've been having challenges with is actually with the sand wedge and the lob wedge. And I'll go to the lob wedge. I think that's the main one there is, I was recommended the D grind, which is 12 degrees bounce in both the sand wedge and the lob wedge, which I'm finding is a lot of bounce for me. I think that's probably the biggest thing. And going into it, I gave these about a month. And again, not blaming clubs. Like, part of me is like, you're a good golfer. You're just gonna take you a little bit of time, but you're gonna get used to the wedges, and that's that. Going through and really finding like the turf interaction, it really is a thing. Like these do just have a lot more bounce and kind of a narrow sole profile, and then it's shaved off around here, which is part of that D grind, which means you can kind of open the face. It's meant to be workable, but what I figured out is 12 degrees bounce around the green, which is really where I use the lob wedge a lot, doesn't feel great, and it's not the kind of shots that I want to hit. I like to be able to hit a lot of really spinny shots, and I realize now how much I like to be able to slide the club under the ball around the green. So you can't get a feel for that whether it's like a PGA Tour Superstore or a Golf Galaxy or Vans or any place like that hitting off mats. You're doing a disservice, and if you're going to invest the money into it, unless you're literally buying a new version of a wedge that you already love, well, then you're good to go. You know what you're getting. If you're going into like I did, where you're buying wedges that now have different grinds that you've never hit before, and with different bounces, please don't buy them until you go hit them on a turf around the green. Like for me, this lob wedge that I absolutely love playing, that I'm putting back in the bag, along with my sand wedge, my Clevelands here. This is an old 588 Tour Action 60 degree. You can see how it's got a really wide sole with 3 degrees bounce. So this is a completely different turf interaction than what I'm seeing, and I'm now at least able to appreciate that, hey, this matters to me. I actually really like a very low bounce lob wedge with this wide sole. I believe Vokey actually makes something similar to it. It's the K grind, which is their widest sole, and their normal K grind is like 14 degrees bounce. So it's like the most bounce they actually have, but they actually make one specifically that's kind of like this, where it's a K grind, the wide sole, but it has low bounce. I believe it's 6 degrees. So it's not quite as low as this, but they actually make one that's kind of like a special wedge that a lot of guys on tour actually use, because they like this wide sole with low bounce. It makes sense to me, and I guess again the biggest thing is I hit a lob wedge like 100 yards. Like I hit it full swing when I'm at that. Other than that, I'm hitting like 30-yard shots into the green in that turf interaction, even like 20 yards. If you're not able to hit it on real grass and you're getting a new wedge with a new grind with bounce that you haven't hit before, please don't buy it until you can actually go practice and hit it on the course. Save yourself the $500, that I invested. I got 1 out of the 3 clubs and I'm totally happy with. And again, there's nothing wrong with the club. This is my fault. I should have waited until I could go and actually hit them real world shots, and then I probably would have got like an M grind or something different with lower bounce, and maybe the wedge would still be in my bag. So it's totally my fault. There's nothing wrong with these clubs. They're amazing. There's something wrong with me because I didn't do my due diligence, and I'm hopefully helping you save yourself at least a couple $100 and a little bit of a wanting to kick yourself moment. Go get fitted for real, not in a simulator, on real grass, hitting real shots, and I guarantee you'll thank me for it.